video is more so for the women out there who think Roe v. Wade is just Kamala speaking on it and telling all these horror stories of women dying and bleeding out. Listen, Mrs. Katrina D is that girl. I am not supposed to be here, you guys. I'm trying not to cry. I am not supposed to be here right now. When I tell you, I could have literally, if it wasn't for the grace of God, I was about to check out of this earth. My husband and I it was so serious because y'all have to understand. What's up, YouTube? It is your girl, Mrs. Katrina D, and I am back with a different kind of video. So this video, I will be way more vulnerable than I have ever been on this side of YouTube. Do not mix my smiling and laughing up with the pain that I have endured, that I'm going to share with you guys, and what God has put on my heart because of the tragedy and the horror that I witnessed this past year. As vulnerable as I have never been on my platform, as well as on Facebook, I think it's time that I need to tell somewhat of my story. Probably not all of it for legal purposes, but most of my story, because there's so many women out here who don't know what's really going on when it comes to the Roe v. Wade and the women's health situation. My situation was so horrendous. It was literally like a living horror movie. And for us to see and take what's going on politically, what's going on very serious. I am a millennial. Most of you who watch me either grow up, watch me on my platforms over the years, know that I'm in my 30s and I waited. By the grace of God, I give God all the glory for everything that has happened in my life thus far. But by the grace of God, I was able to, and I put out there that I want to wait for a husband, to have kids, make sure I get married first, wait for my husband, and then I'll have kids of my own. I'm blessed to have bonus kids, but I was so, and still is, so excited to have my own kids, biological children. I was blessed to have a husband, or am blessed to have a husband who has not just one, but multiple kids. And it's such a blessing because he's such a great father. He's truly a joy to me, and he's certainly a blessing to me and into my life. I wouldn't trade him or my bonus kids for the world, because you never know how God would bless you. And for me, I spoke out my mouth, just the gist before we get into the details of what I'm sharing with you. I spoke out of my mouth, I will never date a man with kids. I think it's crazy to date a man with kids. I have 0 kids. I have no kids. And it's funny how we write our plans and God laughs at them. And that's a true statement, because he blessed me with an amazing husband and awesome bonus kids. Most of you have seen my story. You see me when I was single, spreading the good news, the gospel, and during the pandemic, God blessed me with an awesome husband to pass my way. And he was single and ready to mingle, honey. And he pursued me. My husband pursued me. And here we are today. We're married, happily married, almost 3 years, and we're young. And so with that being said, upon getting married, most of you know that I was so excited to finally say to myself, because for many years I was like, I ain't having no kids, or I'm gonna have kids, but I'm gonna definitely wait until I am married, which is fine. I think all young women should do that. I'm not saying be a virgin. I feel like the Bible tells us what we need to do, and it's up to us to choose what we choose to do. But at the end of the day, understand that God does not condemn us. We have every day that we breathe to get it right. To get it right by Jesus Christ, because he died for our sins. He knew we would sin. When we sin intentionally, that's a major problem. But what makes God so amazing, what makes him so great, is he give us another chance and another chance, not a second chance, not a third chance. He gives us another chance to get it right, and to actually really get it right, so we can move on to our next sin. Anyways, before I veer off to something else, it was so important, and so it was just a very exciting moment for me to be married. I did it God's way. It's such a success for me, and I feel like what we speak out of our mouth comes to pass. And when I say that, I say that from experience. What I've told myself, I want to wait for a husband, I want to have kids with my husband, it came to pass. Not saying I was doing all the right things, but God was doing all the right things through me. And that time had come where I got married. We had gone to our doctor. I made sure my doctor, because she had already been asking, when do you plan on having kids? You're not going to be this young and healthy for long. Well, not necessarily for long, only God knows that. But you know, as women, we're getting older, our bodies, our reproductive health, you know, it declines as we get older. And so I'm like, I'm married, now is the time. So prior to our wedding, I was getting all my screenings, getting all my exams and my tests and everything done. All was well, except for one thing, but I'll leave that out. And it wasn't horrible. It was like a minor issue, and it really wasn't an issue. It was just really, really minor. And I was like, okay, cool. This is it. Like, this is all. Like, she's like, yeah, go for it. Like, have your babies. Like, it's time. Like, we're proud of you. Do what you want to do at this point. And so we went head on in, excited. The wedding happened, and we were just like, okay, we're married. God is so pleased. We're blessed. Let's go for it and have our own babies, or baby. Okay, we ain't gonna say babies, baby. And so that's what we chose to do. And we were pregnant the first time. Are you surprised? My husband has multiple kids, so there's no surprising there. And, you know, come to find out, I was extremely fertile. And so we got pregnant the very first try and ended up in a miscarriage. And so cool. We're like, okay, this happened sooner than expected, because me, I do YouTube. So what's the best thing to do? Go on YouTube, watch the pregnancy videos. I think it's TTC videos, and see what's going on. And most women were saying how it took long. They did this cycle, that cycle. So it was just so much going on. And so I'm thinking it would take quite a while before we actually conceive. And it didn't. It happened with no time. Got pregnant, had a miscarriage, kept trying. I think I brought that video to YouTube explaining we had a miscarriage, but we're still trying, blase blahu. So fast forward, we had maybe 3 miscarriages before we finally had our pregnancy that we brought to the internet. With that, when we had, and there's some things that I'm not mentioning in between, like I said, for legal purposes, I won't mention. We got pregnant, the pregnancy that we brought to YouTube, and we told everybody and we shared everything with you guys, which is our most recent pregnancy to you. It's our most recent pregnancy. And with that pregnancy, obviously we're intentional with our pregnancy and our journey of getting pregnant and having our additional family. And with that intent, I was testing everything. I was pretty aware of what urine looked like. It was just, I mean, anyone who's trying to have a baby knows exactly what I'm talking about. You may not, but as TMI as it sounds, it's very detailed. I was pretty aware and open with what was going on with my body. I was very alert with what was going on with my body, and still is. And it's important. My mom, as a registered nurse for over 25 years, has taught me to always be aware of your body, know your body. So I've always known my body. That pregnancy, I fell. Believe it or not, we had got our positive test. Everything was showing my body. I was just so drained. I could feel everything going on. I'm like, oh, I feel so weird. I feel like throwing up. It just was really, it hit really quickly. And so usually when that happened, prior to me having all these miscarriages, I know the feeling. So it was like, okay, I'm definitely pregnant. Took the test, starch positive, strong positive, great. We celebrated, although I had to lay in the bed because I was not feeling it. Again, like I mentioned, I fell. There were shoes in our previous home in the basement. It was like our shoe area. We didn't have the shoe racks yet. And there were shoes, like maybe one of the kids' shoes in front of the garage door. And believe it or not, that day I was headed to work and I fell. And when I fell, I tried to avoid my stomach. So I felt really, really hard on my knees on what you would say is like cement ground in the basement. It was pretty hard ground. When I fell, I didn't think nothing of it. Nothing was horrible. I was like, okay, I feel okay. Everything feels fine. And then maybe a day or two later, I felt really, really sharp pain coming from, now I know, as my right ovary. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Maybe this is part of the pregnancy situation. And it was really painful, like extremely painful. And I'm like, I still didn't think about the fall. And from there, I'm like, okay, all right, prayerfully everything works out. And so I don't think I tested. And then I went back to, after I felt the extreme pain, testing. Like literally went back to see what the heck is going on here. And when I did my testing, I noticed that it just, first and foremost, my urine in the cup was like, what is this? I used a clear cup so you can actually see in the cup that it was just really, really foggy. It was like really orange. And I'm like, this is different. I've never, over all the time that I've been like logging my pregnancy experience, I've never seen urine that color. And I'm pretty sure I have clips of all of this stuff because it was like, obviously I'm a vlogger, so I kind of noted some things, not everything, but when you're in the moment, you don't pick up the camera. So I didn't film everything, but I believe I did take a picture or film that. And so I'm like, okay, this urine is weird. And I show my husband, you know, men ain't trying to see no urine. So they're like, girl. But he was like, yeah, that's definitely strange. And I'm like, okay, so not cool. From there, my test was negative. And I'm like, wait, it was just really, really positive. I feel pregnant. I still feel pregnant. So, and you know, I'm used to when we had the miscarriage, the lines literally fading and the fetus discharge or whatever the case. And so I'm like, okay, something's really, really not right here. So I'm like, okay, we're not pregnant, but I'm like, I still don't feel good. So what I did was I had called my doctor. I'm like, okay, I got a positive pregnancy test and I need you to do blood work, which we always did anyways because we were in the baby making stage. And I switched OBs, which I do not recommend any woman, especially right now with this Roe v. Wade situation. I do not recommend any woman, if you have a doctor that you're used to and that you trust and all is well and they know you, you know them, don't switch. I switched for personal reasons. I wanted a black OB, someone who knew my body because she has a black body, obviously. And especially what goes on in maternal health with black women. I wanted to give me a black doctor. My original doctor is a white lady, amazing lady. I love my doctor. She's simply awesome. But I don't know what happened in her personal life where her schedule just did not work out at all. Like at all. She's the one who did the pre-screening for me and everything. Like she's the one who was really getting to know me pretty well. And I honestly didn't have an OB until it was time for me. When I decided I want to have a baby, I had a family doctor who I've went to for years. I wasn't in that stage of where I was mentally ready to have kids. As you know, I and my family know, I rarely said I wanted to have kids, so it wasn't a thing for me. I was preventing as much as possible to have kids until I got married. And so I did all my work, trust me, to not have kids before marriage. That's when my doctor, my main doctor I seen every year, every single year, because I'm still young and healthy, so I didn't see her more than once a year. She recommended me to my main OB, who was amazing. Schedule got bad. I ended up switching to a black doctor anyways, because I was thinking, everybody was saying how we need someone who know our body. I don't recommend it. I recommend staying with the person who knows you, whether they're black or white, and just let God do what he do. And so she allowed me to do the blood work. We did the blood work. It was negative. And I'm like, that's strange, because in my side, I felt like literally pulling. It felt like something was drilling. And then over the time, the pain got much worse. I'm like, this is not normal. The test is negative, but yeah, I feel something literally in my body. That's, I mean, I've had my body for, at that point, 35 years, and I've never, or 36 years, and I've never felt this before. Like, clearly I'm sharing my body with something right now. We had a positive test, so it's clearly the baby. And I'm like, okay. And I had not discharged anything, you guys, at that point. So the fetus was literally still in me. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is normal. Maybe it's implanting, whatever the case. But why is it painful? And why are my tests still negative? And my negative did not fade like my my miscarriages I had. It didn't just slowly fade into a negative. It actually went totally negative. The urine was totally off. And it was clear something was wrong. My husband and I, after getting a negative and I'm still feeling strange, we went to the ER. And I'm like, is this ectopic? You know, I looked at the thing, still didn't think about me falling, you guys. That wasn't even a thing. I fell in and that was it. We went to the ER and was like, okay, something's not right. This has to be an ectopic pregnancy. And it didn't start off ectopic, and I'll get to that point. So I went to the ER. He did the exams, everything. I got ultrasounds done. And I can literally, the ultrasound tech, though they're not in the ER, supposed to show you the screen. She let me see the screen and everything. She didn't explain anything to me, but I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking literally at the fetus. And I'm like, wow, interesting. And so we went back, finished with that, went back to the room, waited on the doctor. Guys, the doctor never came. He never came back. And so I'm like, okay, is he gonna come back? Because the nurse came in, she came to discharge us, and we're like, okay, we didn't hear back from the doctor what is really going on. She was like, oh, the doctor didn't come in here? And we were like, no, the doctor never came in, which was it was definitely strange to us. We were like, okay, so the doctor didn't come in, but why not? We're looking like, you can't just discharge somebody that comes for something that feels and seems so serious. It's freaking ectopic pregnancy. And with me being, I would consider high risk, I'm over 35, plus I've had a few miscarriages, even though it's only been a few months we've been trying, and we got pregnant pretty quick. It's been a few miscarriages. So I would consider that to be maybe a high risk pregnancy. So shouldn't I be monitored more? So the doctor came in finally, he sat down, and he didn't look like he wanted to have this conversation with us, but we were like, yeah, you didn't tell us what was going on. And he was like, well, you have a really good OB, and your OB, she will be great with explaining everything to you. And we were like, is it an ectopic pregnancy? Like, what is it? He was like, no, there's no ectopic pregnancy. And I'm like, okay. He was like, well, the issue is your right ovary ruptured. And I'm like, well, the pain is on the left side right now. So I'm like, the right? So that was a shock. Not thinking about the serious pain I had over my ovary right after I fell. And so he was like, it ruptured, and all the blood and all of the fluids have went into your uterus. And I'm like, okay, are we going to get that out? You know, you see stuff like that, they're supposed to do emergency surgery. And I'm like, okay, what's the next step? And he's like, well, it happens. And you guys have to understand, it was not a regular just over cyst. You know, when you're pregnant, you have that cyst, the corpus luteum cyst, that triggers off the HCG for the pregnancy until it goes away, and the placenta rather. I've learned a lot over this time, okay? The placenta takes over, and so the cyst dissolves. And so what happened was, when I fell, that's what triggered the cyst to rupture, and it pretty much spilled into my uterus. So from my understanding, that's exactly why my urine looked the way that my urine looked. And everything just was really, really strange from there. And so, long story short, because this is a very long story. So from there, we were able to go ahead, and I think now it's getting a little bit more emotional for me. We were able to go ahead, because it was so painful, you guys. I cannot express how much pain I went through for quite a while. And he was like, well, your OB is awesome. She's one of the top doctors. And we're talking about the top hospital here in Wisconsin, you guys. She's one of the top doctors in the hospital, especially OB. She's really good with pregnancy. And my husband's like, so is she pregnant? Like, what is going on? He was like, well, that's the $1 million question. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. That's the $1 million question, and I'm gonna leave it to your doctor to answer. He was like, I'm just gonna have you schedule an appointment with her immediately, have her do a TMI, vaginal ultrasound, because your uterus is tilted, and she do a vaginal ultrasound, she can see what's going on better. And I'm like, okay, I'll schedule with her. I was like, because I'm still in pain. He was like, oh, you're fine, you'll be okay. And so cool, brushed us off, made me go to the OB, discharged me, and here I am still with serious pain. That night, guys, I was like, well, let me get a drink. I'm like, okay, let me get a drink because I ain't pregnant, I'm good, all is well. And I'm like, something's still not right. Some way, somehow, I did not get a drink that night, you guys. And so I'm still feeling that tug. I feel pain. It just feels really, really strange. And so I scheduled an appointment with my doctor. I was able to get with her like maybe a week later or so. Don't mock me. I don't know if that's 100% accurate time frame, but it wasn't so long after that because I was in so much left side pain, guys, like literally feeling every bit of the fetus outside of my uterus or wherever it was. It definitely felt like it was outside of my uterus, like an ectopic pregnancy. And so I'm like, okay, go to the doctor, and she's just rambling. Remember, this is the very first time I met this OB. Black lady, super, intelligent and talking, but she just talked and rambled. And I'm like, okay, hi, nice to meet you. And she was talking about how that one thing that was off with my hormone, she was talking about, like, she went through it, blah, 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 this and that. It's a quick fix, all that. And I'm like, okay, great. But I'm having pain. And all of this is in my notes, you guys, from the day that everything happened. I'm like, I'm in pain in my left side, and the ER doctor told me to come see you and for you to do your own ultrasound. She was like, oh no, you're fine, you don't have to worry about another ultrasound. I'm looking at, and she went into the computer, I'm looking at the notes here and everything looks good. And I'm like, ma'am, I am in pain, like this is not right. She's like, oh, it'll go away, blah blah blah, keep trying for pregnancy. And I'm like, I don't think she's listening. So left that appointment, wasn't heard. She's one that really, really talks over you. Like, you can't tell them anything. You literally have to scream and shake her to get her to just be quiet and listen. Although you're the professional, I know my body. And so I just left and was like, okay, terrified, you guys, because I know what I'm feeling. I feel horrible pain. And so time go by, I'm just sitting in my head. I'm like, it's all in my head. It's all in my head. I'm not pregnant and I'm in pain and I'm just going to be okay. Although, don't forget, we had the positive test and I pretty much knew I was pregnant. And it was a normal pregnancy until I fell. From then on, I had went to, what did we do? So a couple weeks later, maybe a week later, I ended up bleeding. And I'm like, why am I bleeding? Like, is this baby finally miscarrying? But the crazy part is I still felt that pain, you guys. Like, it was like horrible pain. And it was like a bleed that wasn't a normal, like TMI, a normal period. It was just a bleed that was horrible. And so I'm like, okay. All of a sudden, you guys, when I tell you I had the worst pain in my uterus, it was literally contracting, you guys. Like, my uterus was pulsating and it was like every, I would say 4 minutes. It was like, and then it was on 2 minutes. I was on the phone with my husband. I was at work, baby, we got to get to the hospital immediately. I'm like, I'm contracting. These are literally, at first I didn't know it was like contractions. At first I was, cause I've never I never had a baby. So it was like, what is this? I was figuring out everything as I went. And I'm like, what is going on? I was like, babe, I'm having contractions. Like, this thing is coming out of me. Like, I'm having contractions. And I feel like, and that's why I think the ER doctor told me, like, I'm probably going to have pain, because he knew that when your HCG is gone, there's no HCG, but they see a fetus, which I know they saw that fetus. And this goes into the Roe v. Wade situation. They don't want to touch anything. Wisconsin, we have no abortion anymore. There's no They can't do any abortions here in Wisconsin. So you have to travel to Illinois if you want to have an abortion. And so they don't touch that. The doctors are terrified. They just really, especially if you're Black, you left to fend for yourself. You're left to either die or survive, pass the fetus, whatever the case. But they are so sketchy, and they pick and choose who they're going to help. I'm not saying I think they can work with ectopic, but with Black women, we are like the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to helping with something that serious. And so I'm not going to say they did not know. I know for a fact they saw it, and that's why he kind of wanted to just discharge us and not have that conversation and let the fetus pass on its own, which it was impossible because the HCG being gone had nothing to do with the fetus, like, wasn't healthy and it didn't take or didn't implant correctly. It had everything to do with me falling and a cyst rupturing, and it totally wiped out my HCG. Like, to this day, HCG is not detected in me because they never removed the fluids that fell into my uterus. Also, because that's what happened. When you have any kind of rupture in your uterus, it's important, you can Google it right now as we speak, that it is discharged from that woman. But they didn't do it because there was a fetus there. Understand that. It wasn't because they didn't want to, and you know, why wouldn't you? There was a fetus there, so they didn't do it. So again, like I said, there's legal reasons why I don't talk into various details. This video is more so for the women out there who think Roe v. Wade is just Kamala speaking on it and telling all these horror stories of women dying and bleeding out. Listen, Mrs. Katrina D is that girl. I am not supposed to be here, you guys. I'm trying not to cry. I am not supposed to be here right now. When I tell you, I could have literally, if it wasn't for the grace of God, I was about to check out of this earth. My husband and I it was so serious because y'all have to understand. And I haven't gotten there yet because I'm trying to be as detailed as possible without telling too much because of the legal reasons. But although I'm here today, you guys, I carried this fetus in the wrong spot for almost a whole year. Literally, before completely discharging the fetus for almost a year, and it took my blood pressure almost to about 250, you guys, and I am not joking. This is not a lie. Heart rate at 140. Very serious, very scary, very dangerous, and it was the worst experience I've ever in my life gone through. And it's definitely, the Roe v. Wade situation is way more serious than people can imagine. Just because you're not in that situation right now, just because you're not planning on having any more kids in your life, you've already had your kids, all the above, does not mean it's not going to affect your sister, your daughter, your grandchildren. When I say I'm somebody who planned out, I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying because I know now is the time to speak and I've had time to heal. Although you haven't seen me on YouTube, that's why. It's affecting many of us out here. And who would have known it would have knocked on Mrs. Katrina D door. Excited as I am still to have my first baby and all the above, it was an exciting experience that turned into complete horror for me. Did all the right things and all the wrong things came knocking at my door due to this Roe v. Wade situation. Doctors frantic, scared, don't want to, having to pick and choose who they're going to help, who they're not going to help. Definitely can't terminate a fetus. I have to jump ship. You guys have to understand, no one gave me this information. I had to do my own research. I had to really survive it out. Thank God I listened to my mom, who always left me to take care of your body. I was taking vitamins. I was doing all the things. I mentally prepared myself to say, I'm not pregnant. It's all in my head. It's all in my head. And when you're pregnant, you guys. Whether the fetus is in the right spot or not, that fetus, your body, you have a placenta somewhere in the uterus or outside the uterus. That placenta is going to grow. Even though the fetus cannot grow outside the uterus, and it was not in my tubes. When I had when I failed, it sounds like taboo, but trust and believe it's a true statement. When I failed, the fetus shifted out of my uterus, you guys, and into my abdomen. I failed. That's exactly what happened. And I don't know if it fully got into my abdomen or if it was partially in my uterus before I had contractions, and then it shifted out of my uterus into my abdomen. But whatever the case, that pain on the left side never changed. When I say never, I mean never changed. So it had to already be in my abdomen, where that doctor did nothing. He saw it and he just left it. And on top of that, he wrote a note on my chart that was awful, you guys. It was so serious and so strange, which is make everything so legal and malpractice that he wrote. I don't know if it was a person in there with the same issue, the same night. I don't care. This was so deadly that I literally had to suffer because of this statement of him writing. I was an infertile female with multiple rounds of IVF, multiple, you guys, and have never been successful with pregnancy. I was like, what? Imagine that. I didn't find that was on my chart until it was almost too late, and I was almost dead, you guys, because I kept telling every ER we went to, my husband and me and my family went to for help, prenatal help, and they would go to that chart and see that, and all of them would assume this woman can't even have kids. She's just a crazy person. When in fact, I was new to this whole baby making situation, and I've had multiple pregnancies within a month span with miscarriage, which means I was extremely fertile, and I never did any IVF or any. There's no chart of any. First off, who's gonna pay? There's people who pay for it, guys, but they have gone through so many steps of trying to get pregnant. I was new to this, and so it was like, what is this? So anyways, I jumped ship. I kind of went further on to all that is to come in this video. And from there, you guys, it was just a whirlwind. I've had, you have to understand, the placenta was still growing inside of me, outside of the uterus. And I bled every month due to that. When you have an abnormal placenta, and it's definitely when it's outside of the uterus, you're going to bleed. The placenta is bleeding. That is an abnormal pregnancy. And like I said, over time, I had to be my own teacher. I had to Google. I had to do everything myself to get help. I've been to ERs, and because he put that in my notes, guys, they looked at me like I was crazy. There's no way this girl's pregnant. Get her out of here. Basically, when I'm literally sitting there with a fetus outside of my uterus, in pain, you guys. I can feel my placenta. I can feel when I'm hungry. I was hungry, and instead of actually feeling it in your stomach, where when you're pregnant you don't even feel that pain, you just feel hunger pains, like, oh my god, I'm hungry, let me eat. When I tell you guys, I felt the pain of thriving in my back, hunger, like the physical pain was so horrible, you guys. I wouldn't put that on my worst enemy. And so over time, I start growing hair everywhere, on my head, on my arms. I start getting tags everywhere. So I looked at the pregnancy app and I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting all the signs of pregnancy. Tags everywhere. I got heat rashes. I was exceptionally hot, but because I'm telling myself I'm not pregnant, I would still dress for the weather, you guys, but at the same time I'm sweating bullets. It was just really awful. And so I had to actually take into consideration that I am so pregnant and I need to prepare for this baby, still not knowing that it's not in the right spot. It's not in the right spot. It's where they should have took it out at. And even though my uterus ruptured, it never the fetus never discharged, you guys. It was holding on for dear life. It was a healthy fetus outside of me falling. And I'm like, okay, I just have to prepare for this baby. I'm thinking it's in the right spot the whole time. It's not. And I'll tell you how I found out, officially found out. And so cool. I'm like, okay, this is scary. I was taking all my prenatals, everything, and just preparing as much as I can for what's to come for the baby. Going on as my just full on pregnancy, my body's changing, all the above. My uterus shifted up because the fetus was now in my abdomen, you guys. It sounds horrible because it is. And so come a few months later, come January, one of the kids came over. She had a horrible cold. I got sick, blah, blah, blah. From that time, I ended up at the ER because of this cold, not knowing when I went to that ER visit. And remember, I'm scared of the hospital at this point, you guys. They did nothing about the pain I had, nor did my doctor. So me and the hospital was not getting along. I was terrified. Wasn't able to go to my OB, my original OB, because again, she had something going on where she was not available for her clients, or her patients rather. And so went there for a cold and found out my blood pressure was like 170 something, you guys, over like 112. Might be wrong, might have been higher. And they were like panicking, like, honey, why is your blood pressure so high? You have a history of blood pressure? I was like, high blood pressure? I was like, no, not at all. Like, I've never had history of high blood pressure. I'm pretty consistent with my doctor visits. If I get a cough, I'm at my family doctor. And unless I have like a toothache or something, then yes, I'll get like 130, maybe 140, maybe. Never seen 140 with my blood pressure. And they were like, well, you don't have a toothache and your blood pressure is crazy. I was like, well, I'm pregnant. And I just told them, like, I'm pregnant. The doctors have yet to confirm it. I had a fall. I just went through the whole story with them. I was like, my body's changing. Everything is happening here. I'm going through all the things that a pregnant woman go through. And she was like, well, you're definitely something. You got to be pregnant because, honey, you are dealing with hypertension right now. I'm like, hypertension? What is that? And she ran and she took me to the room, had my husband there. And she listened for a heartbeat. She was like, here's a heartbeat right here. I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, can you put that in the notes or whatever? She was like, well, no, because if you're saying they're saying you're not, then we can't jump ship. And I'm like, really? So y'all just gonna protect your own butts and let me die here? She was like, well, I recommend you just schedule an appointment with your OB or someone, have them do the scans and everything they need to do. And you need blood pressure medicine immediately or your heart is going to give out. You're going to have a stroke. This is stroke numbers. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Never heard of that before. Schedule with the OB. The OB did her exam. Nothing in my uterus. Remember that, my uterus. It wasn't in my uterus. She was like, you're not pregnant. And I told you you're not. I mean, it was so crazy and rude. This was her midwife. It wasn't her particularly, or her nurse, whatever it was. I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant, but where is this fetus? It still didn't dawn to me. In my head, the fetus is in my uterus and they can't see it. Like, I'm literally thinking this. Didn't dawn to me that it's not in my uterus at all. So from that moment, we leave. She says, oh, and I can't prescribe you high blood pressure. That's only for pregnant women. You have to, very sarcastic, very rude. You have to go to your primary. I'm like, I'm going to die before I meet any of these people. Go to the primary, you guys. My primary wasn't available. Her appointment was pushed out. I was like, no, I'm going to die if I don't get anybody. They gave me another doctor. Went to him. He was so serious about what was going on. Very intentional. He listened to everything I was telling him. Was like, yeah, you know your body. And first and foremost, your body is reacting to what you're saying. You have hypertension. And I was like, and I never even thought about any hypertension. You know, like that wasn't a thing for me. I don't even know what this is. He explained it to me. I was like, yeah, you're definitely pregnant. Like, you're pregnant. Like, you're saying what you're saying is what it is. I'm like, I know that's what it is. I'm in, not only do I have hypertension, I'm in pain. And so, guys, he sends me to, he was so terrified. He gave me medicine for hypertension for pregnant women. He was so terrified. He sent me to the heart doctor to make sure whatever they didn't do didn't damage my heart. So that's on record. He gave me EKG. I had to get all the things you get for your heart. I had to get all that stuff. And he was very intentional with it. Went to my doctor, told her everything. She did not listen to me, you guys. You're talking about my primary care doctor who I've been with for years, way before this pregnancy thing. And I'm like, okay, this is strange. And so left there. Now I'm on my high blood pressure medicine, all the things, whatever. We're preparing for baby. We don't care what they talking about. I'm growing. I'm getting bigger. Remember, my uterus shifted because the fetus was not in my uterus, but I'll tell you where it was, and this is going to rock your world. So I hope you're still listening to this video. I went on to just prepare me and my husband for the baby. We had our baby shower, everything, just basically getting prepared. My body, everything was just like coming along. I was having Braxton Hicks contractions, all that stuff. And so it's getting time, and I'm my back, because I have a tilted uterus. I'm thinking like the fetus has to be in my back. When I tell you guys, it felt like a ball was like, you can feel it in my back. And I'm like, oh my God, this baby needs to fall. It needs to drop. Comes time to have the baby and deliver. And I'm like, okay, I'm 30 such and such years old, 37 at the time, I think 36, 37. And I would be considered extreme high risk. I had miscarriages, blah, blah, blah. So there's no way I'm going to go 40 weeks and I'm going to end up dying. I'm already have hypertension. No one's monitoring me. Nothing is being done. I don't know what's going on here. It's just the most, like I said, horror movie, most scariest thing I've ever in my life gone through. And I wouldn't put it on anyone, all because of them being scared to do anything from the first doctor on to the next doctor, just not doing her job. Just sticking with what he said and leaving it there instead of doing her own full research as to what I was telling her. And he was terrified because he didn't want to deal with ectopic pregnancy in Wisconsin due to Roe v. Wade. And here I am down to the wire. And I'm like, babe, we have to get to some ERs. We have to get them to get this fetus out of me because something's not right. So as I'm walking, guys, we went for a walk when we were trying to push the baby down. I took a boatload of castor oil. And the castor oil, all it did was make the placenta bleed. I know it sounds horrible, guys, but this is like a real life story. And so I'm like, why am I bleeding? Not realizing why I'm bleeding. Still didn't know where the fetus was at that time. I just knew it was in me. We go for a walk on our trail behind our house. Serious walk. Like I used to just, to monitor my blood pressure, I didn't walk. I didn't do a lot of stuff. I was off of work for months, guys. Way before the so-called baby would be coming. I was off work. My husband was like the main breadwinner and taking care of the house, taking care of me. Thank God for my husband. Shout out to Chris D. He did his thing, you guys. I'm checking on his mental health because he's scared. He's terrified. We damn near writing my will, you guys. And so, not my will, my obituary. And so we go for this walk. And on this day that we go for this walk, all I felt was like a shatter of like, it felt like blood clots. Just went down my whole left side. And I'm like, is this blood clots? You guys, it just went down. I just start rubbing it. I'm terrified. I'm rubbing it. I'm like, what is this? At this point, guys, I'm like 40 weeks. I will be technically 40 weeks pregnant. 40 or 41. It was just off the charts. The timing was horrible. It was way too too much past the deadline. We've gone to the hospitals, everything. Everyone's sending me home based on that note. Don't forget that note he wrote, which was totally off. So everyone's sending me home. You're crazy. Get this woman out of here. Guys, it was so bad. They were sending in a fertility specialist for me because of that note he wrote. And I still didn't know he wrote that note. I didn't know, guys. They were like, so how long have you been trying to get pregnant? Do you need fertility help? I'm like, no, I've been pregnant too many times. And like, we just started trying and we've been pregnant quite often, ma'am. Just didn't stick yet. I'm sure it will stick. And I'm pregnant now. And you know, it was just like it was like when you're in a scary movie and all the monsters are there and no one's really like there to genuinely help you. There was just monsters around. That's how I felt. My family was there screaming, get her help. She's swollen. You could tell she's definitely pregnant. It was just horrible. Everybody was terrified. My pastors, everybody was trying their best to help. And so it got so bad where I was like, forget it. We're going to have to go to Illinois and get an abortion. Because Wisconsin, I'm like, there was definitely a fetus in me. We have to get to Illinois. So my sister, she drove me out to Illinois. We scheduled a clinic in Illinois. And when we went in there, the lady was like, oh, cool, your test was negative. I'm like, okay. She was like, so you don't have to worry about getting an abortion. Maybe the fetus has died and it's going to discharge. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, we're still going to do an ultrasound just to make sure, you know, everything is everything. So they take me to the ultrasound room, guys. This is where I found out where the fetus was. This whole time, you're talking about we're almost 40 weeks at this time. I don't think I was quite 40 weeks. And this is what made me freak out and panic so bad. She's like, oh, there's nothing in here. Nothing. She did all the scans, the top, and then she did vaginal. She's like, oh, there's nothing in here. And I was like, okay. No. Let me back up. Let me back up, you guys, before I even decided to go to an ultrasound, guys. I'm sorry. I went and got ahead of myself. Before I decided to go to Chicago or Illinois for the testing, I gotta rewind. I scheduled an appointment with my OB, the one who had never listened to me from day one. She didn't do her own research or details, nothing. My mother-in-law scheduled it, and I went in at an appointment like I am about to die. My blood pressure, don't forget, my blood pressure, guys, was off the charts. It was not normal. My blood pressure was still exceptionally high while taking medicine, you guys. So clearly the fetus was feeding off of something in me. It had nothing to do with being in the right spot. So we go in for this appointment with my OB. She's in there. I'm telling her all the things, all the pain I'm going through, what happened from day one, and so on and so forth. And she's like, well, you're not pregnant, and I will prove to you you're not pregnant. She goes in there. She goes and get her little wheel with the ultrasound, vaginal and, you know, abdominal. And she's like, you're not pregnant, blah, blah, blah. We're like, okay. Me and my mother-in-law was like, okay, prove it. See, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. I was like, I feel the pain in my back. It's deep in my back. It's horrible. See, there's, oh! And we're like, why did she go, oh! Me and my mother-in-law looking like, what? So she jumps up. I'm looking at the screen. Mother-in-law runs over there. And she's like, and the doctor was so in a panic, a shock, that she literally froze and couldn't realize that we're sitting here watching this. And all you see on the screen, guys, was a heartbeat. It was racing, you guys. It had to be it looked like a 200 heart rate. And I'm not joking. It was just going. It was like a plastic sack. And it was just boom, 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 boom inside there. And the first thought in my mind was, my baby. Oh my God, my baby. And she snapped out of it when I was saying my baby. That's not a baby. And I was like, what do you mean? That's my baby. That's the problem. So guys, when she was in there, it wasn't in the uterus. She went under the uterus. And I'll tell you where it was, because the abortion clinic confirmed where that was, because I was able to show them how my doctor went in there and found it. That's not a baby. I was like, ma'am, that's a whole fetus right there. And where is it? Because that's not normal, is it? I said, I feel where you're feeling it is where my pain is. That's not a baby. You need to go get your colon checked. I was like, this witch. All this time she ignored me. Now she finally see the fetus is not in the right spot, and she's just terrified. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, I need a colon. You went through my vagina, but you want me to get TMI. You want me to get my colon checked? What does that have to do with the heartbeat we just saw? And this video is getting long, guys. That's how horrible this situation was. And she was like, yeah. And she just was like standoffish, like, so I'm not a colonoscopy doctor, so I can't go there with you. I'm like, okay, so this thing that you just saw is running my blood pressure beyond what it's supposed to be. And at this point, no medicine is helping me. It's sucking my blood daily by the minute, honey. I need help immediately. Oh, I can't help you. You have to go to your primary doctor for blood pressure. I can't tell you anything. And she stormed out of the room, you guys. This is my OB. She storms out of the room, very upset, because she know what she just saw was something I've been trying to tell her for the last almost year. And I'm walking around with this thing in the wrong spot this entire pregnancy. And I am still alive to tell this story, which was insane. Clearly, I'm a Christian. I know God is so real. But when you're in that situation, you guys, it's like, what is really going on? it's like a movie to you. And so she just left me hanging, you guys. When I say left me hanging, there was nothing she did. She chose to do anything. She put in the notes that she didn't see a fetus, she didn't see a heartbeat, but my poop is right there. It was a stool. And you have to understand, I've been to so many ERs, you guys. They did CAT scans, and on the CAT scans, it shows the fetus in the wrong spot. Literally. And because they would look at the note that said I was infertile, they bypassed everything. I have all the proof, all the CAT scans of it being a whole fetus in the spot that I'm going to tell you that the clinic in Illinois, abortion clinic, told me it was. Fast forward, now I knew how she got there, but I kind of try to remember what she used to get there because everything was such a shock in that moment that I'm trying to put two and two together. Where's this fetus at? She was able to go right to it, you guys. Like after scanning everything and I'm telling her, no, it's deeper, it's deeper. She went right to it. And get to the clinic. Remember, the test was negative. She was still going to do an ultrasound to make sure I was okay. Did the ultrasound and the lady freaked out, you guys. I told her, no, go deeper. My doctor went deeper. She went deeper in with the scope. When I tell you guys, she freaked out. She ran and said, I gotta go get the doctor. Oh my God, what is going on? I gotta go get the doctor. The doctor comes in. They make me so terrified, you guys, but they were trying to help me as much as they can. They said, we can't do an abortion here. We're gonna kill you. If we try to do any kind of abortion, you're dead. I said, why? They were like, listen, ma'am, this fetus is attached to your main artery. I said, what? He said it's attached. That's why your blood pressure, guys, my blood pressure was going over 200 with medicine. He said, this fetus, it is attached to your main artery. Get out of here right now. Head to an ER. They have to do emergency surgery. They have to get this fetus out of you. Rush to the ER, guys. Terrified. In a major panic. We rushed to the ER. You want to say anything on the video, babe? Anything?
That's it.
Oh my goodness. We rushed to the ER, you guys. After we rushed to the ER, my sister rushed me there. I'm panicking. I can't breathe. Don't forget, I'm having blood clots coming out of my mouth. The placenta has already ruptured. Things are coming out of my mouth. Fortunately, it was in my abdomen, which was not fortunate, but I'll tell you why. I'm having horrible blood clots. All kind of stuff is going on. I'm having panic attacks. My breathing is off. My what is it called? My oxygen is failing. It's just like everything is just coming apart. And so I'm already having a panic attack due to knowing that it's on my main artery, and that's what I've been feeling in my back the entire time. This fetus is attached to my main artery. And so we get to the ER, I tell her everything. I said the abortion clinic just sent me here. They told me I need help. It's attached to my main artery. Guys, they call the abortion clinic. They're terrified. No, I don't know anything. This is all, remember, Roe v. Wade plays a great part, although it's a lot of malpractice, some things that were truly missed. My doctor, who just refused to take accountability, she left me for death. Literally left me for death, you guys, to save her own ass. And so when she finally listened and realized what was right there and saw it right before her eyes, so she's the ER doctor, our hospital in Illinois, is frantic. They take me down for the ultrasound. The clinic tells her, yes, that's what we saw, blah blah blah. And then the lady does the scan, and she's like, and they, doctors are in cahoots. They're all in cahoots together. They want to stick with the same story so that they can save their own ass. Just trust and believe that. And don't forget, I'm Black, which means they're not going to save me over their jobs, over their, over a major lawsuit, all and all. They'd rather see me die, and I can't live to tell the story, and then they're fine. They don't have to worry about anything. And so she takes me down to the ultrasound, and she's talking, and she's like, oh, I don't want us to get in trouble. We can get in trouble. She's like, if this is true, we can get in trouble, because we missed it. And you've been here several times, not necessarily in Illinois, but to this hospital, It was kind of the same hospital that's in Wisconsin, but you know, obviously a different location. And I'm like, I don't care. Just get this thing out of me so I can live. I want to live. I'm like, I'm young. I just got married. I'm excited about having a family. Just get it out of me so I can live, guys. And I'm just begging her. And she's sitting there. She's showing me. First, she saw it and she was like, oh, I don't see it. I said, no. Go down. Right there. There it is. Because I remember I just left the abortion clinic and I knew how they got to it. And she was like, oh my God, that's not good. Guys, after this ultrasound, we just sitting there, me and my family just sitting there waiting on them to come back and just confirm and get this thing out of me. Guys, she comes back and I looked at my chart before she even came back and I'm like, here we go again. You have to understand, all these doctors just passed me by. So it would be a horrible situation for them. Although it's all documented for me. And they are the ones who documented it. The fetus was literally right in their face. So it's all going to legal action, blase, blahu. So it's being taken care of. And so she comes in. I'm putting my clothes on. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, well, you're going to go down with them too? You're just going to follow the hype? I was like, the lady just clearly told me. We both was looking at the fetus together. And now all of a sudden, you're going to sit here and go with the same story. And she's like, no, I don't know what you want me to do. I was like, I want you to stop lying. Just like, I understand there's like a protocol you guys all have to follow and all together, but it's going to cost me my life. You're looking at this thing right here and it says I'm over 200 blood pressure while taking medicine, honey. I'm 36, 37 years old. There's no way that that's normal for me. I have no history of any medical issues. And I was like, you just saw the fetus. And she's like, I'm so sorry, you know, blah, blah, blah. Just basically just ditching me, you guys. So she puts in her note, abnormal ultrasound, and tells me, you need to get back to Wisconsin and have them take care of this. So Illinois did not want the blood on their hands, and they didn't want to have to deal with the consequences of allowing me to go so long with no help and no assistance. Anyways, guys, that is the video. It's way longer than I expected because it got so dramatic, but it is the worst thing I've ever gone through. And I go to say this, please vote. Vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because to say this, please vote. Vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. My life. We were able to, oh gosh, shake it off. We were able to terminate the fetus. How? I'm not gonna tell you how. Just know it happened and I'm still alive. It was either between me or the fetus. And seeing that the fetus that we saw at the abortion clinic, because they had it right there on the screen and they had the ultrasound picture, and what I saw with my doctor who covered it up, seeing that it was so small, it hadn't grown because it was not inside the uterus. It had no room to grow. Although it was vibrant, I felt movement, everything. I felt it swinging off my main artery, you guys. It's creepy, but it's what happened. We had to choose between myself and the fetus, and just know the fetus left us. And it was the hardest thing I ever gone through, because I fought for so long with the fetus in me. And so I'm here today to tell this story because it's gone, and my blood pressure obviously went back to normal. I don't even think I have elevated blood pressure in a regular pregnancy. It's just the fact that the fetus was on my main artery is the reason why my blood pressure skyrocketed to deadly numbers, stroke numbers, horrible numbers. And it was nothing but the grace of God is the reason why I'm still here right now. I'm literally still alive and prayerfully looking to see a full healthy pregnancy after that horror situation. And it's all to Roe v. Wade and malpractice, obviously. But definitely Roe v. Wade played a huge part in that. So the stories you hear Kamala speak of is 100% true. It happened to me. And when I say it happened to me, it was the worst thing I've ever gone through in my entire life. Here you talking to a professional. I'm a state leader. I am faithful with my church. I'm faithful with my family. I'm faithful with the Lord in ministry, with my YouTube. I just love people and I just love life. And it knocked on my door. And I'm like, God, what are you telling me? What do you want me to do? And he's like, tell your story. As crazy as your story may sound, this is going to save a life. Guys, please vote. Don't be foolish. It's obvious. There's no comparison between Donald Trump and Kamala, not Kamala, Kamala Harris. She's well qualified. We as Black people have been the underdogs all of our lives. She's made it where she is because she's went to school. She put in the work. She's had the career. So that's why she is who she is today, which is our second commander in charge. And they're not going to put no respect on her name because she's a Black woman. And she's worked her butt off. I was going to cuss. Trying my best to get where she is. And yes, I'm voting for her because of who she is and also because she's Black. I don't know this stigma that's going around. Why are we voting for her because she's Black? Why not? Why not? He's clearly a racist. He's clearly somebody who does not have your best interests at heart. So why would I step over her and say things that I think she has done versus what I know? We know he's an idiot. We know what he has done in the White House is nothing but troublesome, hatred, and all the evil things you can think of. And so I don't agree with no person, especially a person of color or woman, male or Black, white, yellow, whatever she is, to vote for him. It's foolish. I wouldn't even say a victim. I'm a survivor of the foolishness that he has caused. There's issues with women, ectopic pregnancy, like they said, rape, all kind of things that women go through that is going to cause for an abortion. And because of this stupid thing that he has done and he's gloating about, we are at risk of one day, and this is me, celebrating a wedding, excited about starting a family, buying my dream home, vehicles, living in the dream location for our kids, literally planned out everything in my life by God's grace. Having a school district for my unborn child, as well as the kids we have alive, all the above, all to turn around and almost be gone from this earth was the most scariest thing I've ever gone through in my life. So I beg you guys, take this election extremely serious. If your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be paying so much money to go out and to canvass and do all the things they're doing to get you to vote. Vote. And vote for your future of your children, your grandchildren, just for your future as a whole. Vote like your life depended on it, because my life did. My life depended on this Roe v. Wade situation. There's so many situations that is not just, oh, you don't like kids because you believe in abortion. What? People who are, who believe in abortion, such as myself, I don't want people to have abortions. But I don't know their situation. It's not my business to be like, hey, you shouldn't be having an abortion. Everyone has to answer to God. And God, he doesn't condemn. It's up to God what he would do with that situation. You don't know if they prayed to God or what their case is. But it's not my place to tell you what to do with your body. So it's not so much that we want people to run around having abortions, but circumstances causes me and causes you as a woman to have to terminate your pregnancy. And because that's terminated, Roe v. Wade, guess what? You have to die with that situation. Your fetus, your baby has to die. And so all good, thanks be to God. I just pray that this video helps the next person. Share this video. Don't forget to like and also subscribe. There's so much more to come. I have a surprise for everyone. If you're watching this video this long, you may know what it is already. And so just stay tuned, you guys, for everything to come. And I'm back. I'm alive. I'm thankful to God I'm alive right now. I'm just breathing with my family. I'm just cherishing the moment. By the grace of God, we'll be back to rolling. For the most part, everything is I'm doing really, really good, especially based on the circumstances I just came out of. So just continue to keep us in prayer. We are thankful that I'm still alive, guys, because I was literally about to check out. And so thank God I'm here, and stay tuned for what's to come. All right, guys. Stay safe, stay blessed, check on someone, let them know that you love them, because you never know if they'll be here tomorrow. I love you, but God loves you more, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, guys. See ya.